Jose Mourinho has never hidden what he demands from a winger. Track back, help your fullback, earn the right to attack by working first. Players who won't do that job rarely last long under him, no matter how gifted they are going forward. Michael Olise doesn't look like that kind of winger. His whole game is built on patience, not urgency, on slowing a match down until a defender relaxes just enough to be punished for it. He's not the player sprinting back 60 yards to make a recovery tackle. On paper, he's exactly the type Mourinho has spent 2 decades having no time for. So why has Mourinho reportedly made him Real Madrid's priority attacking target? To understand that, you have to go back to a version of Michael Olise that almost nobody wanted at all. By his mid-teens, 3 academies had already given up on him. Arsenal had him briefly as a boy. Chelsea signed him at 7 and released him at 14, reportedly over his attitude towards schoolwork rather than anything happening on the pitch. Manchester City took him in next, and that spell ended even worse, teammates mocking him during fitness testing until he simply walked away from the club. Reading was the club willing to take the risk nobody else would. His agent later described fighting to keep him there when Reading's own academy staff wanted him gone too, insisting the boy was a footballer, not a future engineer. Reading gave him his senior debut in 2019, and by the 2020-21 season he was directly involved in 19 goals in the championship, numbers good enough to convince Crystal Palace to sign him. The breakthrough, once it arrived fast. In April 2022, in a 5-1 win over Leeds, Olise became the youngest player in Premier League history to record 4 assists in a single match. He finished that season as the first player in Palace's history to reach double figures for assists in a Premier League campaign, and was voted the club's player of the season. 4 years later, almost to the week, he'd walk out at the Allianz Arena in a Champions League quarter-final wearing Bayern colours, facing Real Madrid directly, the exact club that had reportedly made him their top target that same season. By then, the comparisons had changed completely. People weren't talking about whether Olise belonged at the top level anymore. They were comparing him to players who had already spent years there. I've always compared him to Kevin De Bruyne. I always see that in him, Bayern head coach Vincent Kompany said in April 2026.
Je pense que c'est la qualité d'une demi-finale de Ligue des Champions. Ce sont des joueurs qui haussent leur niveau de jeu par rapport à la difficulté de l'adversaire aussi. Et ce qu'on a vu aujourd'hui.
That's not a compliment handed out to a promising squad player. That's a manager measuring someone against one of the finest attacking midfielders of the last 2 decades.
What's easy to miss underneath the numbers is how much of Olise's evolution happened away from matchday entirely. Kompany has specifically credited his off-pitch professionalism, his conditioning work, his attention to recovery, for a run of over 18 months without a serious injury, a stretch that would have sounded impossible during his Crystal Palace years. Because the version of Olise before Bayern wasn't short on talent, he was short on staying on the pitch long enough to prove it. Repeated hamstring problems disrupted whole seasons at Palace, and just when it looked like the next step was finally coming, his body got in the way again. A high-profile move to Chelsea in 2023, with the fee already agreed and the release clause triggered, fell apart entirely, and he was still recovering from injury when it did. For a player already used to being written off, it was one more reason for doubt to creep back in. Instead, something changed. Olise started staying fit, playing more and eventually producing numbers that made those old doubts look pretty ridiculous. 25 goals and 28 assists across all competitions in the 2025-26 season. Bundesliga Player of the Season, only the second player since detailed statistical records began in 2004 to reach 15 goals and 15 assists in a single Bundesliga campaign, joining Jadon Sancho as the only other name on that list. That form carried straight into the World Cup, where he arrived with more assists than any other player in the tournament, anchoring a French attack among the favourites to win it outright.
And despite everything linking him to Real Madrid, despite Mourinho's reported pursuits, Olise is still at Bayern. Company confirmed it directly this summer.
Do you now see the matter as closed, that Olise will definitely be with you next season? And also, does the club have any statement on this report that we've seen in German media about Olise and child welfare payments, child support payments? Thank you.
The topic was never open for me, and anything else, private life is private life, so none of your concern. He's on holiday now and he deserves his holiday.
Mourinho's reputation made the Olise link look strange at first, but maybe the contradiction wasn't really a contradiction at all. Because the more you look at Olise's career, the more you realize Mourinho may have seen something that wasn't obvious from the outside. He doesn't necessarily need his wingers to be the fastest players on the pitch. He needs them to work. He needs them to understand when to track, when to hold their position, and when they can finally go forward. Those are exactly the qualities a boy rejected by 3 academies had to develop just to survive in the game at all. Maybe Mourinho didn't see Olise as the exception to his rule. Maybe he saw the rule in him.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, commenting below, and sharing it with other football fans. Thank you for watching.